Some years ago, I think maybe two, perhaps three, I published a book called How to Be Weird, an off-kilter guide to living an interesting life. And the book is composed of 99 brief exercises that are designed to generate moments of weirdness. You might ask, why would we seek out weirdness? Well, in my book, I argue that feeling weird is a positive because when we feel weird, we have a sense that the world that felt familiar, safe, habitual, predictable, suddenly feels unfamiliar, a little risky, a little unpredictable. And this can certainly be stimulating intellectually and emotionally. And also, this feeling can inspire creativity. Let me give you an example. So, the Romantic poet Percy Bysshe Shelley, in his essay Defense of Poetry, I think from 1819, maybe 1820, thereabouts, says that the most powerful poetic metaphors rip the veil of familiarity from objects. So we can think then of, for instance, the opening of T.S. Eliot's poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, where the speaker, Prufrock, says, "Let us go then, you and I, out into the evening, stretched out upon the sky like a patient etherized upon a table." What? So Eliot is asking us to imagine the evening. It's foggy, it's grim, likening that sight, that atmosphere, to a patient etherized upon a table. This radically defamiliarizes the familiar. We've all walked out into the evening sky, but suddenly, if it's likened to a patient etherized upon a table, we will see that evening in a striking new way. And just as we will also think about a patient etherized upon a table in a striking new way. So you see how, in this regard, the weirdness, the disorientation, invites us to see the world freshly. But this freshness, again, is predicated on feeling a little uneasy. Why do you go to an art museum? Why do you go to an art film? Well, if you go looking for truth with a big T, or if you go looking for beauty or goodness with a big B or a big G, I would suggest you're going for the wrong reasons. I think we probably are most drawn to art in any form because it offers this experience of defamiliarizing the familiar. You see Van Gogh's Starry Night, very popular painting. If you really stare at it and you look at those brushstrokes, the density of the paint on the canvas, and you see this interplay between the stars suggesting stasis and order, design, and then those swirly brushstrokes which suggest turbulence, tumult, even chaos. Suddenly you probably, if you're actually walking out into a night sky, will not feel the night sky in the same way. Defamiliarizing the familiar. Now, this is an idea that I'm drawing from a school of literary critics in the early 20th century known as the Russian formalists, who said that the difference between literary language and non-literary language is that literary language precisely defamiliarizes the familiar. So, what kind of exercises show up in this book? Well, I have one exercise called Astonish Your Own Words. And the idea is that when we're trying to describe our most powerful feelings, the words that are available to us generally fall way short of the complexity, the power of that experience. An example of this, the inadequacy of language to describe experience, shows up in William Styron's memoir of his depression called Darkness Visible. And here's what he says. He says, the word depression is I'm quoting now, is a noun with a bland tonality and lacking any magisterial presence. Nonetheless, for over 75 years, the word has slithered innocuously through the language like a slug, leaving little trace of its intrinsic malevolence and preventing, by its very insipidity, a general awareness of the horrible intensity of the disease when out of control. So the word depression is woefully inadequate for describing what actual depression feels like. But aren't all words for intense feelings equally inadequate? To say, I'm in love, ridiculously misses the crazed vulnerability of falling in love. To be anxious is oceans away from the nauseating flutters and lethal seeming suffocation that anxiety can induce. So, if we can come up with expressions, linguistic formations that can get us closer to our emotional experiences, closer to the bone, will this help us understand our emotional experience more deeply, more profoundly, more usefully? I would say yes. So how do we do this? Well, we can follow the examples of poets who describe their intense emotional states not through abstract terms like depression or anxiety, but through stark, often strange imagery. So, for instance, for Emily Dickinson, to be depressed is to feel a funeral in the brain. Langston Hughes, trying to imagine the difficulty of life, says it ain't no crystal stair. Charles Bukowski, for him, love is a dog from hell. So in each of these cases, the writer uses a concrete metaphor to try to capture the intensity, the complexity, the nuance of an emotion. So why don't you try this exercise? Why don't you write down at the top of a page the mood you're in right now? Or just the mood that you find yourself in most. Maybe you are depressive. Maybe you are anxious. And then try to come up with 3 different concrete images that capture that emotion best for you. For instance, I'm feeling a little petulant today, a little complainy, a little peevish, a little out of sorts. So I would write on the top of the page, petulance. And then I would come up with 3 images. So I would say something like, petulance is a sparrow with no branch to land on. Petulance is a shell shard the surf flings into the sand. Petulance is a single tree in a field bent by wind. So what you're doing with this exercise is you're reanimating the word describing your mood, and in doing so, you are getting closer to your mood. Now it's not just a sensation like a fever or a chill. That mood is a thing. You can hold it, you can stare at it, you can keep it near you, or you can put it down and you can walk away.